this is gonna sound like it comes from a place of anger or judgment, but it just really comes from a place of trying to spread awareness. My child came home with her iPad. She's in kindergarten. She's my first kid in school. Today was her first time bringing home an iPad, and I had everybody go to bed and got on it, and I was able to find graphic pornography and sites depicting or explaining all kinds of very graphic, inappropriate things. I was able to do that within minutes. So I'm not happy about this. This was my worry about our children needing to start using technology more as part of their education. While I see the validity to that and technology is not all bad, I have been concerned that access to the internet is unsafe. And you could say, well, you should be with your kids at all times on an iPad, on a TV, on a computer, whatever it may be. And I advocate for that. I tell parents that. But that is also kind of difficult to do all the time. That would be like trying to be with your kid all the time. Especially with something like an iPad that's small. So my thoughts are, we haven't regulated the internet enough. Technology is moving at lightning speed, and you've seen a lot of commercials, maybe like I have, that say, but regulation hasn't come far on it. Though the internet is not all bad, it has so much bad on it. And people might think like, oh, Rachel, but your kids can't live in a bubble. Like, that's not healthy. And I would agree with that as well. They are probably going to get exposed to pornography at some point. And I do not want my kids to grow up being afraid of body parts and afraid of sex or overly curious because it's taboo and we don't talk about it. I actually plan to talk to my kids about this subject a lot, and actually already have, and my child is 6. And actually sometimes I worry that the things I'm trying to teach her and trying to be the first person who talks to her about it, rather than finding out that other children have educated her and showed her things younger than I would have imagined, because the average age that kids are seeing and being told things is extremely young. So I'm trying to be the first one to put that education into her sweet little brain as it's forming. I worry that I'm actually telling her stuff so young that she's going to pass on to her friends what I'm telling her, which is all good stuff. But, how does she regurgitate what I tell her? How does it come off to other parents? They're going to be like, oh my gosh, why is Rachel doing sex education at 6? But we have to. So this is not about putting my kid in a bubble and not having them ever know about things or know they exist, but this is about them not coming across things that hijack their brain. So here's what I don't get. Like, in society, we're pretty big advocates, it seems, whether you are anti-gun or pro-gun. Even the people that are pro-gun are like, yeah, don't just leave guns unlocked in a house, especially with children. That is a recipe for danger. Guns are not entirely bad, just like the internet's not entirely bad. They have a use, and they are a tool that can be used for some great things, but because they also have XYZ dangers with them, it is best that they are locked up, and you wouldn't let your kid just play with a gun without you there. Yet some parents do take their kids hunting and training, and they're there and they give them, gun safety and teach them. But at the same time, no matter how many times they've taught them, even if you taught your child like 100 times, 1,000 times how to use a gun, by the time they're age 4, I bet by the time they're age 5 or 6, you're probably still not ready to be like, you know what? Guns unlocked in the house. Go shooting when you want. I feel like you know what you're doing. Like, you still, as a parent, know that their executive function and how their brain works is just still really not mature enough to like be alone with a gun. Now, is pornography more like a gun, or is it more like a cinnamon roll? It's just something that is pleasurable, and we shouldn't be so afraid of it. We just shouldn't have too much of it or too much exposure. Right? Like sugar and things like that, small doses really aren't that harmful, but if we have too much, we can end up with diabetes, and it's really not good for us. Well, while pornography could be considered a pleasure, again, I don't really even let sugar just be out anywhere for my kids to have whenever they want. How many of you leave a candy bowl on your counter like year round all the time? It'd be like, hey, have some whenever you want, but like don't overdo it. And why do we not do that? Because kids will just overdo it. Like they don't have the maturity and the executive function developed in their brain the way that we have, because our parents taught us things and had to do the grind of teaching over and over and over till, and like giving us a chance to practice some of using that executive function. Like kids are really impulsive. And so if something seems pleasurable at all, then they are going to, or it strikes their curiosity, things like that, right? They're going to explore that. They aren't bad for that interest, and my kids have been taught that. But that's the whole scary thing, is if they come across these things, we are wired from the day I think we were born to have parts that get stimulated, to have curiosity of things we have not seen. And while all of that is good, like there's nothing bad about how we are built, there are things in the world that take pleasures and exploit them and come after us and throw them in our face, making us want them at an unhealthy level. And that can change us. That's like a scientific fact. Anything we're addicted to and we overuse, whether it's something mild or it's really hard drugs, actually all can change us. And that's the scary thing, right? Should we not be scared of our kids even getting exposed? Or should we? Like, are we being too scared? Like, am I being too scared? Well, I study pornography addiction, and some people think it's just like a morality difference. Like, some people, or like maybe mostly religious people, don't want people looking at porn, but like those who aren't religious are like, yeah, it's probably okay though. Like we just have moral differences, like agree to disagree. So there's like hard science of how pornography affects the brain, like drugs. And unfortunately too, there isn't very much healthy porn out there, and regardless of if there is or there isn't, you're not in very much control what they get exposed to. There's extremely violent, racist, unhealthy, like unsafe things on the internet. And unfortunately, how the internet is designed right now is like, hey, it's almost like freedom of speech. Like we can't just nix everything. You know, Google's trying to put some filters up that stuff doesn't pop up easily anymore. But technically, it's like this free world of just anything and everything that could exist possibly might be out there. And if you come across it, you come across it. I personally feel that my kid's iPad should not have access to the internet. Like if their teachers feel like playing educational games or learning to type, or learning to do things like that is necessary, like get on the internet. I think for one, as a 6-year-old, like, and the teacher sent home basically saying you can play this game with your child. Well, immediately I thought it would be an app that we could just click on and, oh, it's a safe game. And certainly we can't just get on the internet super easily. Well, actually, some of the games were apps, and then some of them were like, you have to get on the internet. Well, the other interesting thing about the iPad that I'm finding, and maybe some of you know some secrets I don't know how to protect it better, is that if you connect to like a Wi-Fi network, it will remember the password. It did have an option to not automatically join every time someone gets on. So I clicked that thinking, oh good, maybe she'll have to put in a password every time. So at least if she gets on the internet and she's with me, then I disconnect it, like she wouldn't be able to get back on. But that wasn't the case. All it did was make it so it wasn't automatically logged into the Wi-Fi, but it still remembered the password, and there was no like forget password button. It was just like I'd probably have to like clear some crazy thing in deep settings and be a mess every time to figure out how to do that. But basically, if she clicks on our network, yeah, she's not automatically logged in. The second she clicks on a network, then it remembers the password she's going to be logged in. So she could easily just click on something without me there. Do I plan to try to monitor her at all times? Yeah, but you know, while society tries to throw this on parents, like just monitor your kids at all times, like, but also don't be a helicopter parent, and also try to accept that you can't be with your kids at all times, in all places, and all things. We can't. Like, I'm a mom. I have a million other jobs other than to stare at my child all day and make sure they're doing like appropriate activities. I've got dishes that take forever. I've got laundry that takes forever. I got making meals. It feels like it takes forever, and then I try to make sure I have quality time with them, and then I'm paying attention to what they're doing, and I am like back and forth checking on them, but I can't every second, right? And so to me, having them bring home a device I would have never bought. I don't buy my kids devices that can access the internet. I'm already a little bit uncomfortable with my smart TV. It has YouTube on it, and that doesn't have any proper ways to block it. That at least our TV is in a room that is visible from our kitchen, from the hallway, from most anywhere. It would be really hard to be getting on stuff without me noticing that, how much I come and go doing the tasks that I do each day. But our kids do not have access to computers. Our computers are locked out. The school seems to have the control over the safety settings, not me. So I just think that having kids have access to the internet is like having access to a gun. Like, it just needs to stay locked up unless a parent can lock and unlock it every time. And even then, I think we can have learning apps and ways for kids to learn technology while still having the iPad be designed to be safe for them, rather than being like, let's put the internet on it but hope that all of our filters are going to cover the bases, because guess what, they don't. And I just proved that. Like, I just access some really nasty stuff so fast. To me, right, like, there's Gab phones right now, which I always thought should be invented, and then it was. That they can't get on all these things. They still have a device. They're still learning technology. They still use technology, but it's very protected what they can and can't do. To me, Google should create Google Kids. YouTube is trying to create YouTube Kids, but it's not, perfect. But to me, I should be able to get a device that is for kids that only can have Google Kids and can only have YouTube Kids. It's never going to have the broad world of the whole internet of anything you can find that's garbage out there. And then Google Kids, rather than Google being like, ooh, we're gonna try to like filter out certain things by putting in algorithms and keywords, like, I'm sorry, but I'll pay to have Google Kids and YouTube Kids, so that you can pay people that have to actually monitor everything that's put on there. And that might mean there's a lot less content than the broad wide internet, and I'm okay with that. I want you to monitor the websites, the videos, and continually monitor them and make sure they aren't changing. They're not becoming something disgusting. And when people ask permission to be uploaded to Google Kids, you're checking out fully what they are. And that's going to take a lot of manpower and a lot of time. So maybe we all need to be willing to be like, I'll pay a little bit to protect my kids. I think, yeah, they should learn technology, but they don't need the World Wide Web at their fingertips. That's my opinion. I am going to talk to the school about how I feel about this iPad situation and it having the internet on it and being able to join a Wi-Fi network so easily. And I think my daughter can learn without it. I learned a lot without it. I knew how to use computers by the time I left high school. I don't know all the solutions, but I just want you to know that your kids aren't safe on their iPads, even if you think they are. And you can't watch them every second to know that they're not getting on stuff you're not there, and what they can find can change them for life and is not scientifically safe for their little brains to be exposed to this young. If you want to know more about the studies that have been done about what it does to the brain, and especially to young children, hit me up and I can send you links. So good luck to us all trying to protect our kids and